Hello, hello. Am I audible?
Hi Suresh.
Yeah, thanks. So I just created a big data table, then for each. In the meantime, anyone who is interested to do Blue Prism training, so I would be taking that Blue Prism training in, I think, November or December.
Is there a presentation going on? I cannot see anything on the screen.
Yeah, I shared my screen.
Is it me or anyone else also having this issue? This is Sham, right?
So, like I have shared my screen. Can anyone update? They are able to see the screen, or can you see my screen or not?
Yes, Suresh. Yes, Suresh.
Yes,
Okay,
Suresh.
thanks.
Yes.
So, Sham, if you can re-log in and try to connect and let's see.
I'm able to see.
Thank you. So, so there are many methods inside. So what I have done is I've just created a data table using the build data table. So it's a basically a GUI tool where we give the user where we give this the column name and the row, and then I've used the for each which is there into the data table. So if you go to the for each, so it expect a collection of data table. So I've given the reference of the data table. So and it will return a data row. Now the data type of this data row is a class which is there into the MSDN. So data row is class. So if you want to see what is that class name, you can go to the here and you can type data row. So this is the data row which I am using. So it has the reference of the data row class. So what I have done is I've trying to extract the value which is there into my row. So I'm trying to iterate the each column which is there into my data row. So that's the way you can extract the values from your data table and iterate each row one by one. Okay. So let me have this. Let me create another build table.
Hi, Suresh. The next row, will it come automatically, or do we need to add the next row in build data table?
Okay, so you are saying when you click here the next row, this is the row or like what? Question is.
Yes.
You have to use the tab keys automatically. When you use the tab key, the new row will be added.
Okay. Hi, Suresh. One more doubt. If you want to replicate any object, can we do it and
Replic
make changes?
replicate means
I mean, we can take a copy of any object and
yeah
we
yeah
can
yeah
do
yeah 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 yeah
changes.
you can do it. Just copy and paste it. It will create.
Okay.
Now, one of the questions somebody was asking sequence, or if I put into one sequence, then it is good. Otherwise, it will keep on expanding. So it is always advised that I keep one operation into one sequence, other operation into sequence, other sequence.
Can we iterate one data table with two for each loop parallel?
Can we iterate?
Ca- One data table with two for each at same time.
I didn't got your query. If you can elaborate what you are expecting. I have one data
Like,
table DT. Then what
yeah,
you want? Then
we create two for each
what
for
is
one data table.
okay?
So can we do this?
Suresh, it is not audible for us. You're muted.
Hello, can you hear me
Hello?
now?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, Suresh. Yes.
okay. Okay, so I'm not sure whether you are able to hear me. One of the question is that we have a data table and we can have two for. So the only you can do you can iterate with one for each. You can iterate with other for each. It is up to you. It is up to the requirement. So once you have the data table, whatever the records which are there into your data table, it will return. So it's up to you whether you want to have for each or one for each. So basically what I have done is, if you see the flowchart here, there is I designed one data table, and if you see the data table, there were three columns inside data table. One, employee number, employee salary, and employee designation. These are the values. So I have iterated this record set, so you can see the records which are there into data table. Similarly, I have another data table which has two columns, the address and the PAN number, and the address and the PAN number is given into the data table 2. Then I have printed another message, merge data table. So what I have done in the merge data table, there is an activity merge data table where it expects two things. One is the source and one is the destination. So what I have done, I have merged the data of data 1 to data table 2. Now within data table 2, there were two columns originally. One was the PAN card and the other one is the address. So I have merged the data of data source 1, and within data 1 there were three columns: the name and the employee ID and the designation. So after merging the record sets, I have iterated it again. So now this DT2 will have around 5 columns. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 0 was your original the employee address, and this was your PAN, and after that I have the name, and the next is the employee ID, and this is a designation. So you can see after merging I will have 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the values which I'll have once you merge the records between two data tables. So this way you can use these merging of data tables between different.
Though the columns, 1 second, Suresh. Though the columns are not same, like one is 2 columns, the other one is 3 column. We can create we can merge the data tables, right, without any issues.
Yeah. So it will have the null, right? Because in the design time I mentioned that it could support null value. So if you see
Yes.
in the first set 1, 2, 3, 4, the values are not there because corresponding to Delhi, corresponding to Chennai, corresponding to Noida, these particular set is not. So these are the values are null for them. So it has
Okay.
added the result set. So earlier I was having around 3 records. Now it is 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So around 8 records are there once I merge two data table sets.
Okay.
Fine. So you can convert the data into a string also if you have. So I can use the output data table. So what it do is it converts the data table record set into a string. So let me create a variable. So you can see the output somewhere here. It is mentioned converted into strings. That first the column is employee address, employee number, employee name, and employee designation. Then we have daily, then comma, 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 then Chennai, comma, comma. That means the values has been passed as a null. So they are around 8 to 9 records post merging. So this way you can convert. So output data table is again an activity which expect two parameters. One is the data table name and any string variable. So what it will do, it will convert the data table into a string, and you can use that string into any kind of operation if you want. So this has given another flexibility to use your data into a string format, which is there into a data table object. You can clear the records from your data table. So if I use this option, then and I need to provide the data table name, let's suppose I use data table 2, right? And after that again I use the for loop. Someone please can you mute your desk phone? There are lots of disturbance. So you can see after the records clear from data table, so I have again executed the for each, and it didn't execute it because there was no records in your data table. So this way you can use different options. Output data table, merge data table, clear data table, build data table, and generate data table. So generate data table is again a GUI tab. So anything which you type, name, age, roll number, and there is a bug in this particular option because it don't allow me to disable this option and preview it. So you can also use this wizard to create a data structure for your programs. Generally, we don't use these features generate or build because we know that the data would be coming from different sources. You can get this data from a database from SQL Server DB2, and then once it has been extracted, you can use that data and store into a data table. And but sometime if your data record set is hard coded, then in that case you can use these options. Otherwise, we generally don't use the data table, build data table or generate data tables. So these are the few operations that we can do around the data tables. We can add new records using the data table. We can delete a record. We can edit the existing. Column values. So there are many APIs within it. Let me show you. If you want to add a new record using the data tables, that we can do it. We can also extract certain values from your data table. Let's suppose before clearing, uh, I want to know the values. I would just want to display the details of employees who are managers. So if this is a condition, I want to get the records, how I am going to do it. So whatever I'll do, let me remove this clear data table from here. And I want, I don't delete it because this will help you. I will create.
Hello. Uh, can we perform functions like accept changes, reject changes on data table?
Yes, you can perform.
So where we can write these functions?
You need to use another activities, invoke activity.
Okay.
So what I've done is this is my build table. Simply it will create the record set A, B, C, D, and these are the records. So I've used this method. So DataTable.select. Now select is a method which is defined in the data table, and what it expects is the condition. For example, if I want to list the records of employees who are managers, and I want to sort the data into ascending order, so we can have multiple conditions also using add or operator. It is up to you. Right now I have just filtered the records who are managers, and I want to list the data with respect to the designation only, or if you want to have the employee number, then you can sort it with respect to the employee number. So any just like a SQL, we pass the column name and the descending or ascending order, whatever the way you want. So emp name. So if you want to sort it with respect to emp name, or if you want to sort it with respect to emp ID, let me see what was the column name, emp salary. So you can run it. So ascending order, so if you want to arrange it with the descending DSC. DESC, I believe. So descending order, I have arranged it. You can see the output which is listed. Here it is the employee number, and that's a salary which is higher descending order, and this way you can filter the record. You can have multiple conditions. I want to list the records of manager and the employee. So what it do is it returns the record set. So it returns the rows, because there could be one row, there could be many rows. So it returns a row. So what I have done is I have created a variable of data row, and this is the data type is data type, and it returns an array. Since it returns an array, so it is a collection, so it is not a data table. So I use the for each. Now for each I have used the control flow for each. I didn't use the data table for each, and because data table for each expect this variable to be a data table. So you need to use the control flow for each, and on day 1 or day 2 I explained that if there is an collection, you can iterate one after one. So what it will do, within for each, this is a collection of data rows, which is an array. It will return first records as an index 1. So what it will do, it will return a data type of data row, and after that I just printed the output which is there into my record set. So this way you can filter the records from your data table, and you can view those records which are required as per your need. Similarly, you can add new records using methods which are there into data tables. There is one activity which is very important and important to understand. Let me explain you invoke activity. Now, like in any language, we have the methods, and methods perform some action, and so we generally pass some value to a method, and it always returns single value, right? For example, if I have salary max, so string of array of salary, it returns some long value. So this is what we see in the Java. So I have declared one method which is the method name is max salary. So it will expect an array of string values. It could be, let it be, it could be long, or it could be long. It's a array, and so it will perform some kind of operation, and it will return some long format value. So if I want to invoke a method in UiPath, so how I can do it? So they have given one activity called Invoke Methods. Now let's suppose I want to do some kind of operation on a class math, and I want to call max dot. Anybody from .NET?
Yeah.
So what math dot name returns? So math dot random expect what kind of value in .NET?
It's generate random values.
No, what it expect? What we need to pass here? Two values, one value, double, long, what?
It's some integer values or some.
Okay, keep it very simple.
Can you try bracket after two upper? Because it's a method.
No, there's some other issue. Okay, so basically what we need to do is we have a invoke method activity. Now, how you need to use this a little different way. When I want to invoke this max.salary, and if this is a inside a class, there is one method inside it. Now first I need to do is box be equal to new of box. Let it be A. So this is the way you make the instance of your class, and then you call the method, and you pass some value also. Let it be long salary. Then you this one, then you this, and you pass the salary. So this way you use method. You create a class of box, then there is a variable which will hold an array of salary. Then you are calling max salary, and this will do some kind of operation, and it will return a value of long. Now same what we have done here is I've used the invoke method. So there is a variable one is of an instance of string, right? So just like B is an instance of class box. So you need to pass the reference of your class. Here I've used the variable one, which is holding a value of. So here I've created an instance of string, and I've also given a default value as hello. Then you have to provide the method name. So this is the method name which is defined in my class. So if it is a box class, here it should be max salary. So here you need to provide the method name. You don't have to use the round this. You don't have to use it. Now this method is also expecting an argument. So you are passing an argument to your method. So if you want to pass an argument in your method, there is an option called parameters collections. Here you need to provide the variable which will hold that value. Like in our case, we are not passing any value because the string dot to upper don't expect any value, so it's empty. You don't pass any value to your method. So, but if we have some other method where it is expecting the values which it is going to carry out, then it will then you need to provide that variable as in, and what kind of data type it is. Let it be string, and in here it could be integer, then in So what you have to do is you have to mention the direction. Now what direction is, this method is taking a value, right? So when a method is taking a value or you're passing an argument to a method, so direction is in. When a method is returning a value, the direction is out. So if you change the direction as an out, that means this method is returning a method value, and the output direction is saying that this method will return a value. And what kind of value it is? Like in our case, max salary is returning a value of long. So you will change the direction from in to out. So if a method is accepting 10 different variables names, like here integer, I am passing employee ID, then string name. So you will also pass the employee ID and the name, let it be Swish. So here, how many in will be there? If you are talking about UiPath, there will be 3 arguments that you need to create for this method maxsal, and the direction would be in. First value is long array, the second is your integer, and the third one is the string. This way you need to pass the value to your method, which will do an operation, and you can change the parameter as out if the value is returned as double. And once the value get returned, then you need to assign that value also. It is in, it is first is an array of long, or integer, keep it integer only. So in this case, I am mentioning there is a method which will return a value of double, and it is passing those values, and the direction is in, and here you have to provide the variable name. Now variable name which will hold the value. So here I will say it is salary, here it is employee ID, here is, so that's the variable name that you need to give. So it will return the value. So the return value I have put it into the result variable. Now this action will return some method. I am passing that value into a result. So this way you can invoke any method which is performing any operations. And sometime we also need to do one more operation, is call by reference. Call by reference means the value of that particular object is going to change. So that means you are passing that value and you are also returning that value. In that case, you need to use the collection as in and out. So that means the variable name which you will pass here, the method will accept that value, it will do an operation, and whatever the operation that you have performed inside it, it is going to return that value also. So that's the way you can use the in and out and in and out operations. Right now, if you give me any class that will return, that expect some kind of argument and it is going to operate it, I will show you the same example, just like I have shown you the method called string.toUpper. So we will use this invoke method wherever we are going to invoke a method which will expect some kind of values, and it will also return some values. So what I have done here is I have used this variable, I have called this method, it is returning a value of string type, and I have assigned that value into a variable or variable 2. So this I have just printed, and if I execute it, so method get executed on the variable 1. The method is toUpper, so it returned the value as 1. So if this particular method is expecting some kind of value, it could be, let me use the other method of string, maybe substr method, or So in this example, you provide the start and the length index. So we can use this example. For example, this is passing char and what I will use subsist here, substring. So you can see HE is being returned. So what I have done, I have used this variable1, and I want to call the substring method. Now this method expect two arguments. You can see this method expect two arguments. So I need to pass those arguments using the invoke activity. So I have used the collection option. In this I am saying that this particular method, that means substring, is taking two values of type integer, and this is the variable which will hold the value of start, that means from 0, and the end value is 2. Same is case, I will call the max and the variable name that will hold the value. Now long, here it is equal to integer 32. Variable name is this value, and what kind of the value is being passed within this parenthesis, so that is showing the parameter as direction as in. So this way you can invoke a method and pass an argument to your object to perform an operation in UiPath. Now this will return a value of substring. So the value is being resulted into a variable which is I am storing in the value as variable 2. Now why I have explained this point here is because in data table, if you want to update a record, then you need to use the accept changes method. If you want to delete a record, then you need to call a delete method. If you want to add a new record, then you need to call a data rows method. So there are different methods within the data table. So if you want to invoke them, then you need to use this invoke method. If you let me go datatable.net. So if I go to this class, so you will find accept changes. Accept changes, that means any changes that you have performed, it will be saved. Then you use the data row methods. There are many methods that you use. The select, I've shown you the select method for recording, for retrieving the records. Then if you want to create a new row, then you will use the data row. If you want to add a new column to your data type, so what it is doing, keep in mind, here it is doing column equal to new of data column, then data type, the column, read only, the unique. So these are the few things which is the coding with respect to MSDN. And if you go back to your old example, build data table. So if you see, when I wanted to add a new column, what it expected: column name, data type, allow, null, auto, default. Now if you go to the MSDN, you will see this is the name, this is the data type which we are expecting. This is the data type, this is the column name, it is read only, unique, and what it is doing, it is adding that column to a data table. It is a GUI, but in the background, what it is doing, it is calling the same API of data table to create a new column into your data table. So that's a way, that is the way why I'm telling you from the day one that if you are from the .NET, it will be helping you people, because you know what are the methods which are there into this particular class, and you can use them. Otherwise, you need to do MSDN search and use those methods to do an operation of creating a new record, deleting a record from your table set, or updating an existing column in your data sets. If you want to get total number of records in your data table, then you will use DataTable.4. So if you want to know how many records are there into your data table, so you will use the DataTable.count. So what I mean to say, that the total number of methods are limitless. I'm not going to touch all those methods. You can go directly to the MSDN site, try to see what method I need to use, and you can see what method it returns. How to use those methods, I've explained using the invoke method. You just pass the data table name, the method, the argument, and it will return that value. So this way you can use the data tables in your programs. We have seen how to create data table. We have seen how to filter a data table. We have seen, I can show you many more examples, how to add new record, how to delete one record from data table. So examples are endless, but I am keeping to I'm expecting you people, while practicing, you can do this exercise at your end at a without going further. So before I proceed, any doubts so far?
Hi Suresh, I have one doubt. If we have data from different sources, which data table we use to store these data?
So if you have different sources of data, is that
Yes.
so when I say sources, sources could be PDF, sources could be an Excel sheet, sources could be CSV
Or a
files,
DB?
database. So we have different
Yes.
data sources. So you will use that data source and put that data into a data table. So
Using build data table option,
no,
or
no,
which
no,
one
no,
I'm
no,
asking?
no, 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 no. Build data table, we never use it. There was one query yesterday around input dialog box. See, we are going to design an robot. A bot is not going to expect you people to work. The
Okay.
automation is replacement of human work. If I need to enter a value into an input dialog box, then there is no sense of having these bots. The objective is that we are going to, even your machine is logged, it is going to log in with your credentials, it is going to perform those operations. There is no need of human interventions, right? Build data table is a static where you are defining your columns names, hard code. This is all hard coded, right? The column name, the
Yes.
values. So in real time examples, we never hard code anything. We just connect to the database. We get the column name, what is the column name, and we get the record. Similarly, we will expect the data table to be created at runtime, right? So,
Okay.
so there are certain options which help you that you don't have to code it. Uh, like in Excel, whenever you want to read a data from your Excel, UiPath provide an opportunity that you can directly store data into a table. So just you need to assign the variable name. So When you run your program, the entire data which is there into an Excel sheet gets stored into a data table. So you don't have to do anything. Similarly, if you want to connect your data from DB2 or Oracle, it gives an option that you directly assign that value into a data table. So you don't have to hard code anything. If there is certain requirement where the data is not going to change, so UiPath has given an opportunity for you to hard code using this build data tables. Why I have explained this build data table example? Because if I use the Excel, then you will get confused what is this Excel now. So that is why first need to understand what is a data table. Now I will show you how your Excel data is there, database data is there, and that data is getting popped up with this data table. So I will show you that from now. Yeah. So any doubts so far? Great. So just wanted
Hello,
to...
Suresh, can you listen?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a question as well. So you just said that we do not need to hard code anything, and directly the data will get into the UI through UiPath, even if it's a PDF or an Excel or even a database.
Yeah.
So, for example, in the PDF, in the Excel, the data is clearly defined in rows and tables. Similarly, in Excel also it is being defined, but in PDFs and the Word document, it's not defined. And how it will identify which data should go in row and column, and how it will make it rational data.
Just wait for Tuesday, you will get your answer when we'll come to the PDF. Sure. So we'll cover that part as well. So the objective is first understand the data table. Then we will see in real-time example how you use the data tables in your projects. Now, coming back to any other question apart from these two? Great. So let us move to the next topic that we have in Excel automation. Now, Excel, that we know that we use Excel very often, and within Excel we have the data which is there into tabular format, and the data is in different sheets. Sheet 1, Sheet 2, Sheet 3, Sheet 4, right? So if I want to read the data, if a bot want to read the data from an Excel sheet, so what we need, it need the source of your file, that means where the file is located, it need which sheet need to be read, and it need which column to be read, that means the cell address it need to read. So these are the few details which a bot need to read the data from a Excel sheet. So within UiPath, we have an integration of Excel, so that these are the operations that you can do over the Excel. So we will go through one by one very fast. It's very easy, nothing so complex. So we'll go to the Excel application scope. So what is an Excel application scope? What we have to do is Excel application scope means this is a boundary of a file on which you are going to perform your actions within this sequence. So here you need to provide the path of your an Excel sheet. So let us suppose your Excel sheet is this is a file. This is my Excel sheet, right? And this is the path. Now you might say that this is hard coded. Generally we don't hard code anything. The path could be there into a property file, or the path could be from your C. It can see your C drive and it can find this file. That should not be an issue. Just for a demo purpose, it needs the path of the file where the data it is. Okay. Now this is an Excel sheet, and any operation that you want to perform, it has to be placed within the sequence or within these boundaries of SQL application. So one Excel application file will have one scope. If you want to do an operation on another Excel sheet, then again you need to have Excel application another. So one boundary is for one file. Just this is an important, and that is why it is mentioned as scope. Let's suppose if I want to read a data which is there into an Excel sheet, Let me open that sheet also, which we have here in so this was the example that we have seen on day one. Let me remove this unwanted URL address, right? And let me add some model number, and this is price. So these are the column headers. Now let me save it, and so this is the file. Now I want to read the data. So to read the data from an Excel sheet, you have an activity called read range. So it expects two values. One is where is your data is. So I am saying that my data is into my sheet 1, right? And this sheet, the first row. So if you go to the properties of read range, there are certain properties that you will use it. First important property is the add header. So add header is a property that means the first row.
Suresh,
It will
just a moment, please. If we have a couple of sheets as an input data, then can we write more than one sheets here, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3?
yes, you can do. See, the read range expect only the sheet 1. So if you want to read the data from next sheet, you need to add this way.
Okay.
Now you might have some question. I don't know the Excel sheet will come. I might I don't. There would be a situation where you don't know even the sheet name,
Yeah.
right? So right now it is
Yes,
hard
yes.
coded. So
Yes.
where you need to use the APIs of MSDN, of Microsoft APIs to know.
It would automatically.
Yeah. So it will open a file. It will see how many sheets. So I can show you that example as well. So where I don't know the sheet name, and so I will create the workbook, and I will use the worksheet, and once I have the worksheet name, then I will put it into a variable. But I don't want to make it a complex, so to keep it very simple. Now sheet 1. Now read range, if you go to the properties of here, you have to provide the sheet name. Now it returns a data table. So where I need to declare a variable as, let it be dt of. What it will do, it will read the data from an Excel sheet and it will store into a data table. And we have learned if you want to, for each of what data table, I will say dt2, and after that we can use write. So if you even don't know how many columns are there within your data table, you can also do through programmatically. That should not be an issue. Row of 0 to string. Now let me run it. You can see the output here. It has read the entire set. How many records? Maybe 100, whatever. So this way you can use the read range and for each to read the data which is there into an Excel sheet. Then you can manipulate whatever the way you want. So read range, add headers, data tables, sheet name. Now by default, the read range reads the data from the first cell address. So if you go to this sheet, it will read the data from first cell. That means A1. If I want the data to be read from the cell A9, or let it be, I read that cell address from A70. So you'll see it has read only last 3 records. So it is up to you from where you want to read the data. A70 is the starting address. So it will read the records from the starting address till end of your sheet. So this way you can give an address. Now you might have a question that I don't know even from which address you need to read the data. So again you need to do some kind of programming to know which cell I need to read it. But UiPath give an option that you can read entire sheet or you can read a data from a given source or given cell. So any doubts so far? Great, very good. Now
Suresh, I want to read from suppose A70 to B70 or C70 like that. I mean particular few columns.
so you have got these 3 records, right? From A65 to A68. Let it be, for simplicity, let me Suresh DXC bot. DXC bot. So this way you can give from A65 to A68. So if you want to read a particular cell, only a single cell, right? So how you can do? Read cell. For each, again the sheet name, where the cell hits, I want to read, let it be B73. So I'll say B73. Now you will see the result. If you see the result, I'm just creating a variable. I just make it a string just for it is not allowing me to change the data type. Let it be, I use the generic one only. I don't know what is. So it is printed the value of 299990 of this address B73. So if you go to your Excel sheet B73, it has read this value. Now why these tools are important? Now the question here it is why we are using these different tools. If you want to do this kind of work, how many code you have to write. You have to use the MSDN, Microsoft Excel sheet APIs, then you need to find those values, then you need to create it. Now, if you see the UiPath, you just drag a activity and you are getting the results, right? So don't have to write any code here. How many lines of code I have written to read the data from an Excel sheet? This is the path. This is the range I have given, and I got the output. So within three statements, 1, 2, and 3. Within the three statements, I am able to communicate to my Excel sheet. I am able to read the data from my sheet, and I also able to iterate the data which is there into my sheets. If you are from the programming, if I want you people to design into a .NET or into a Java, I think you will need to write around almost hundreds of lines of code to get the same thing. And hence, these products help you to use these methods, to use these features. And on day one, if you see here I have mentioned highly rapid implementation for the UiPath. So it provides a very almost 400 of different activities which will help you to integrate with different applications and develop fast. So moving to the Excel, if you want to read the cell address, right? If you want to read the cell address, let's suppose here I do a sum of numbers. The format is something different, so let it be here. So let me add these numbers. If I want to get the what is the cell address, so how can you do it? You use this method as reads cell address. Where is my formula? It is there into D70. So you can see the formula is being copied from D62 to D69. So this is the way you can read the data. What we need to do is the sheet name, the address, and the value it is being returned as a string. If you want to select a range, right? For example, I want to select this particular range. So what it will do? Read column. Let's suppose sorry. Now it returns an enumeration. So enumeration is a set of again a collection. So you can use the control flow statement for each. So read column. So I have read the entire column. Let me change the from B70. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So after some, these 5 values has been read. B70, B71, 72, 73, and the last value is 0. So you can if you want to read a particular column, then you can use read column. So what it do is it returns an enumeration, and it will return an object. So I've just iterated it. Then read row. If you want to read the entire row, let's suppose if I want to read the row as piece A73. So this will be one row. Now once this row is received, then you need to iterate the column within each row. So you can see what it has printed. Item to dot string. So I printed the first row column. I mentioned the address as A73. So what is this A73? This and this. So this way you can get those values from a given row. So it will read the rows. Let me 72. So you can see you can read values. Until unless I change into the Excel row, I cannot get further columns. Let it be. I'm trying to find something. So before I proceed, any doubts so far? I will give you a very complex exercise. So far it's so easy. First exercise is, there is an Excel sheet. There is a data in sheet 1. I want to implement the VLOOKUP functionality between two different sources. I have two sheets within an Excel sheet. Let it be employee. There is a sheet employee. In sheet 1 there is some data. On sheet 2 there is a data. I want to use a VLOOKUP functionality. So if you do not know what is VLOOKUP is basically there is one set of column, there is another set of column. So it try to see, it compares each row and try to find that particular value exists in the next column or not, and if yes, then it returns the value. So you can go to the Google and try to see. I am not going to waste my time to explain you what is a VLOOKUP, but for using this UiPath, you need to do the VLOOKUP functionality. Second exercise is, you need to find duplicate records and highlight them with red color. This is the second exercise. So there is an Excel sheet, sheet 1. There is a sheet. So let's suppose there are many records which are duplicate, and I want to highlight with red color. The third one is, there is a sheet which has certain records, and I want the formula to be applied on sheet 2, sheet 1. So there is one data which is there. So let's suppose this is the data, and there is a formula which is there into D70. I have another sheet and which has certain data. Now I want to do what? I want to apply the formula which is there on this D70 onto the formula to E10 cell. So this is the third exercise. So what, find duplicate, right. Okay, so this is the three exercises. These are three exercises that you can practice, make your weekend interesting. Sheet 1, again I need to reframe my question. There are two sheets within your Excel sheet, sheet 1 and sheet 2. You have to implement the VLOOKUP. You can take any kind of example. Go to Google, there are lots of example. What is VLOOKUP? But how you are going to implement within the UiPath, is it up to you. There is an Excel sheet which has duplicate records. You need to find those duplicate records. You need to highlight it. Now to highlight it, just you can use this method. Set color, set range color. Now set range color, expect some color. Now set range color, I just suppose A1 to A2. Save. Now if I go to this one, so you'll see these are being highlighted with this color. So what I meant to say, you can use the set color activity. So set color is expecting the range, the sheet name, and what color you want. So color class is there. It is inside your drawing namespace. So within drawing you will have the color class, and within color if you see dot red, you can do any kind of colors. If you want to make it more interesting, I need to also copy the formatting formatting of sheet 1 to sheet 2. So what it means, I have done some formatting. Now what I have formatting, let's suppose this is my sheet 1, this is my sheet 2, and I just copy this address with this some records, let it be here, from here to right. So this is sheet 1, this is sheet 2, and I want to do a formatting. Now these two cells A1 and A2 are being highlighted with background color as red. I want to apply the same color on these two rows, let it be 11 and 12, or sheet 2, A1 and A2. So that's the 4 exercise. Formatting of sheet from sheet 1 to sheet 2. Then copying the formula from one sheet to another and applying on the records which are there in the sheet 1. Find the duplicate records and do a VLOOKUP. More interestingly, we can do a more merging, etc. Whatever I have taught so far, you can do it. There is nothing which I have not taught so far from the activities, but logic you have to implement at your end. So I am just closing any doubts before.
We'll have a lot of doubts once we complete these exercises.
Okay. Doubts, but nobody speak when I ask except 1 or 2 questions. So that means either you are not practicing or you don't have any doubts.
Can you explain exercise 3?
Okay, let's suppose there is one sheet. One, two, three, some data is there, and I have some formula here. I have similar data on sheet right. Now the requirement is that there is one cell which has some address, sum of D4 to D14. I want to apply the same formula onto sheet 2 on these cells. So that is an exercise. I have shown you how to read the formula. Now you have to apply that formula from sheet 1 to sheet 2 so that you can get the sum of these two numbers. So that's an exercise. So any queries, any doubts over weekend, please drop me. I would be working on Sunday. Saturday I'm not sure. No, on Saturday I would be working. Sunday I'm not sure I would be available. So we'll continue this exercise till 18th. 19th and 20th I would be on leave. So 16, 17 and 18 I would be. 18 I am not sure I am available or not, but I will let you know. 16th will be 16, 17 I am here. 18th I might be here. 19th I am on leave. 20th I am on leave. So
Suresh, for Chennai location 18 is holiday.
Chennai location?
18th is holiday.
Okay. So let us see how many participants are there from Chennai. If there are many, then we can keep an off on Wednesday.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll share these recordings and you can walk through them. Let us see. Because I need to complete this course earliest by 27th, which is my committed date. So 15 days I need to complete this course, 1, 2 and 3, and we have already completed 1 week, and I think 1 day is still I didn't did any kind of exercise. So let us see how it goes, but please practice it. Without practice there is no sense of doing these sessions. Otherwise I'm not going to stop my train. my train will be fast, and you will lose that opportunity of having those doubts. Please practice over weekend. Try take some time in the evening, whatever like. So apart from this, you can
Can
drop
you
the.
tell us, is there any logic to move from sheet 1 to sheet 2?
I'm not going to tell to you. Use cell.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Suresh.
Bye. 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 अबे यार रस्ते में हुआ यार रस्ते में